It was a cold and windy night when a lonely messenger rode his horse through the forests of Yorkshire. A cloudy sky, blocking most of the light of the full moon, made it even harder for him to see the path before him. He cursed to himself. Why was he chosen as a messenger? Where did this do-no-good of a colleague of his went off to? He wasn't seen for days. Probably went off to court a young lady way out of his league. Now he had the honor of bringing this urgent message to one of the lords of Yorkshire. Lucky him. Another cold breeze blew into his face, and a shiver crawled down his spine. He tried to tuck his coat even closer to him, in the hope it would give him warmth, when suddenly he heard a strange noise. It sounded like the rattling of metal chains. Where did that come from? Nobody lived in this forest. The closest house was miles away. The rattling grew louder, as if it came closer. The messenger panicked. Was this the doing of bandits? Was he about to be robbed? He looked around, but he couldn't see anything. He tried to calm himself and tried to convince his horse to go a bit faster, when he suddenly thought that there was something in front of him coming closer. A shadow. Was that a tree? It was way too dark to tell, at least for now. Only moments later it happened that the clouds finally passed the full moon, giving way for his cold light to brighten the night. He needed a second to get used to the new light, but then he froze. The shadow stepped into the light and made himself known as the source of the rattling. Before the messenger stood a giant of a man, covered in iron chains, wearing a strange kind of belt. What was there hanging from it? The messenger looked closer and froze again in terror. From the giant's belt hung human heads, looking like they were freshly severed. And to his horror, the messenger spotted a familiar face. So it wasn't a hunt for a young lady after all that delayed his colleague's arrival. There he was. Well, at least his head. The giant moved, and it was only now that the messenger saw the giant club in his hand. He knew what would happen, and without even thinking, he made his equally terrified horse turn around, and galloping like their life depended on it, which it probably did. He heard the rattling of chains behind him, and the heavy steps of a giant chasing after them. But to his utter amazement, the noises got more and more silent. Still, he rode on, not willing to take any risk, thinking himself in wrong safety. It was only minutes after the last rattling noise that he finally dared to turn his head around, and saw that the giant was gone. He took a deep breath. This was an encounter he would never forget, for he was one of the few lucky ones who had seen the mythical Jack in Irons and lived to tell the tale. Jack in Irons is a figure from the mythology of Yorkshire. He is described as a giant, wearing lots of iron chains, carrying a large spiked club, and haunting the lonely roads of Yorkshire at night, waiting for a new victim whose head he can add as a trophy to his collection. Nobody knows the real name of the ghostly figure, for Jack most likely is just a placeholder name, like John Doe. But he is well known for his cruel character, and often described with demonic attributes. He is said to be a ghost, even though he seems to have more in common with an ogre-like figure. But nobody really knows where he came from, or what exactly he is. He became known as a kind of boogeyman creature, to warn people from traveling alone at night. Nobody knows if he's still out there searching for new heads for his collection. But there are still people going missing at night. And who would really like to take their chances against a ghostly giant if they don't have to? As always, thank you very much for listening. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up, subscribe and ring the bell to be notified when new videos come out. See you next time. Slan slan!